Metroid Dread has it's brought up so much conversation over the past week. And there's one particular item about that I wanted to bring up because today it just went off on Twitter. So um, it's accessibility in very specific genres. For those of you that are not familiar with Metroid, well, it's a franchise that created an entire genre of game. And then another game called Castlevania came out, and it built upon that foundation. And so people talk about Metroidvanias as a genre. And if you've been around in games in the past 5 years, you might have seen a shit ton of them.
Mhm.
We really had a resurgence of Metroidvanias, basically starting with Axiom Verge, and then Hollow Knight, and Ori and the Blind Forest, and then Ori and the Will of the Wisps. There's a million Metroidvania style games out there, including Metroid games that continue coming out and Castlevania games that continue coming out. And so, with that, David Jaffe, a well known video game developer, known mostly for Twisted Metal and working on the God of War series for Sony Santa Monica way back when, um, he's he's on Twitter basically for the hottest of takes, talks a whole lot, and he happened to bring up a thing today uh, that was Metroid Dread's playstyle. So um, he straight up called the playstyle in a very particular sense crappy developing, and that is that there are moments in Metroid, and there are moments in every Metroid game in which you actually have to explore. That's the point of the series, is exploring these maze-like maps that have a whole lot of puzzles, and they have a whole lot of abilities and upgrades that you need to find. And there was a specific point in Metroid Dread that he felt was a little out of line and did not suit him being a game developer. And so when Thomas is back, we can have him run the video here. Um, but there's a very particular part that there are blocks that you need to shoot in order to advance in this particular part of the level, and he missed it. Um, but there's all these things like visual cues that games can lend to you, like in this particular clip. If Thomas can pull that Twitter clip up
Yep, I'll pull that up right now.
that I put in there, um, you'll see that there is an enemy in the level above you, and you can't see a way immediately to get there. And that is generally a thing that has always happened in Metroidvanias.
So
Hold on.
Yeah, no problem.
Let's see if
And
I can
it's,
frame this. Just keep chit chatting, because
Oh yeah,
you might just see
good.
my whole Twitter feed for a second.
You're good. So before
Is the current
before you
question
do
the one that's like a whole bunch of like other players playing the game at that specific part and to reach the enemy or something like that? Or
I think that's the same clip. Yeah,
okay,
it should
because I
be
saw
that.
that earlier on Twitter. I didn't realize he was the one who had posted that.
Yeah, he was the one that posted the other stuff. There were people that were posting that in regards to what he said. So um,
Oh,
'cause
okay.
he
I
made
see.
a whole thread, and he started deleting a couple things.
Ooh,
'Cause
that's when you know you're wrong.
Yeah. But of course he doubled down on most of his argument. But
Of course.
at the end of the day, my question to you guys in particular is, when is a genre defining characteristic something that you feel has to be accessible? Because there are some games that are right off the bat what you're getting into, right? And where does that line cross for you as far as needing to know this or that? And specifically in Metroid Dread, you actually are presented with the information beforehand, so you technically wouldn't be lost. But David Jaffe was. Have you guys found yourselves in a situation like that?
I mean, a lot of the times it just comes down to common sense. You know what I mean? Like a lot of good game design in games will present you with a puzzle like piece by piece. Like for instance, World 1-1 in Super Mario Bros. You know, you try to go to the left, you can't. The screen doesn't move. So you're like, oh, I learned I have to go to the right. And then you encounter your first Goomba, right? And then you're just like, do do do. Oh, I died. Okay, well, I can jump in this game. I have to jump over the thing or jump on it or whatever, you know. And so it's all pieced together like that. And I don't think that Metrovanias are like any different in that regard. Like you said, you were presented with the information. So you should know what to do if you see something that looks impossible. Then it's just like, oh, well, let me try this thing that the game told me I could do or that I learned while playing the game, or do something that I haven't learned while playing the game. You know, just try everything. You know, so it's not like a
Yeah.
why can't Metroid crawl situation. uh, so as far as that goes, I feel like it's just common sense and or gamer instinct, quote unquote, as it's known colloquially. And whenever I'm watching someone who doesn't have that or has like minimum that, it's frustrating to me because it feels like it's just right there. So I feel like if you are presented or have learned the information in the game, like via design, I think that's enough accessibility, quote unquote, for me. Um, I don't think that there should be, you know, a simple way or like around it or anything. I feel like you should attack the thing the way the game wants you to attack the thing. And if you can't figure that out, well, I mean that's where help from your friends comes in. You know, I get by with a little help from my friends. I remember the days when, you know, secrets and unlockables and stuff were shared by word of mouth. So like I'm okay
Yeah.
asking for help, you know? If you can't figure something out, then there's no point in complaining about it because other people will have. So ask them for the wisdom that you seek. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
Nice.
I can see a few sides of this. I mean, I don't know. I think the only strong opinion I have in this argument is that you should just try not to get mad at game devs for the stuff they do, because like on one hand, it could be an accident. You know, whether it's in Metroid or any other game, like whatever they did might not have been on purpose, and they might patch it. But if your issue is with like the type of game and the like Metroidvania is not new. I mean, Carlos, you just gave us a bunch of examples of how common Metroidvania games are. I mean, they started coming and they never stopped coming. And if that's not your cup of tea, then that's probably just not the genre for you. And that's not to say that like games shouldn't be accessible to people, but there are sometimes where like trial and error and like I mean look at a game like Limbo. Limbo is a game that you learn specifically by dying. The game intentionally kills you so that you learn after that. It doesn't teach you first like a lot of games. It waits until after you've died for you to be like, okay, not going to jump in the water. I cannot swim, you know? And so I think it'd be a fair criticism to be mad that the game didn't tell you that you can't swim, you know, before you jumped in the water. But that's specifically how the game is designed. And if you don't like it, that's fair. But just don't get, I don't know, don't get too upset about it because maybe it's just not made for you and other people really do like it. I like Darkest Dungeon, but I'm never going to see the end of it because I'm bad at that game. Like I'm bad at a lot of the games I play, but I still like them. And I'm not going to be mad at the developers because, you know, because the game's too hard. Because it being hard is like the point. Not to say that Metroidvanias are supposed to be so challenging like Darkest Dungeon or even with like a lot of roguelikes, but yeah, my only real dog in this fight is just like don't get mad at a whole genre if potentially it's just not for you. Like it's just not, it has a specific mechanic that every single one of these games has. And to fit in this genre, it has to have that, and you're saying it shouldn't have that. Like you're saying that fundamentally should be altered. Well, maybe a game will come along that'll work out for that guy, but it doesn't seem like it's this one. And it's a shame he couldn't, you know, he didn't enjoy that aspect, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
Yeah.
he's a game developer. You're saying that user error is a possibility for Mr. Super Duper knowledgeable game developer? I don't know.
They aren't human.
Hmm.
He did eventually say like I said, he did double down on his opinion, but at the end of the day today, he was like, well, yeah, I do suck at most games, but and it's like, well, you don't have to say game design bad just
Mhm.
because you design games.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've seen a ton with a lot of things. Thomas Happ, the developer of Axiom Verge, has been talking all week, and it's been great to see that because this guy made his passion project based on this genre, and he expanded upon it and then made one of the toughest versions of the genre. The whole genre accessibility thing. I just think it's funny that it was brought up because we've seen such hype from this game that there were so many streamers this weekend that have never touched a Metroid, and a lot of them haven't even played Hollow Knight and Axiom Verge and any of the newer stuff either, and they struggled pretty handily, um, but in a really fun way. I watched Obake Pam, the VTuber for PlayAsia, and she was hilarious because when the Emmys came up, she just could not handle it. She was completely incapable of doing what they tell you in the game. It's like when you're in an Emmy zone, just survive. That's your entire goal when you're in there. Um, so it was very interesting seeing a game bring people together in that way, because it's not like a lot of people streamed Dark Souls, but I don't feel like everybody streamed Dark Souls. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know that we saw like Pokimane playing Dark Souls when it first released or anything like that. It's just Dread has brought out a new sort of hype. I feel like that's really exciting.
Yeah, I saw a tweet, I think, a couple of days ago that was just like the fact that the hype has lasted this long after the game has come out, you know, is something like to be spoken about. Because with a game like this, I mean, it was marketed pretty well. They did like they kept releasing all the 2D high res art of Samus from the past and all that whatnot. Nintendo won't shut up about it. They're still talking about it, which is great. I love that. Um, but it's been keeping the zeitgeist, which is one of our favorite words, alive for Dread. And I'm really excited about that because not only does that mean it's a successful revival of a franchise that's long been dead for like the last 2 decades or whatever, but that means that the potential sequels that come after will be just as um like prolific, if not better, because sequels. So I'm really excited about the direction of the franchise now that this has happened because it's besides the dude, uh people have been really really loving it, and it's one of the first Metro games that I've actually wanted to buy. So because usually I would just it's not really like my kind of genre, like my kind of game, so I would just like borrow it, but like I want to like own this. I want to be able
Yeah.
to play it whenever I want.
Yeah. Me too. This is the first time I've like actually wanted to buy a Metroid game in a long time. Yeah, that's not my favorite genre in the world, but it's hard not to be excited with that trailer. The trailer for that game was really good.
I think that will do for the podcast tonight. So let's everybody say our goodbyes for that. Otherwise, we'll get into whatever we got next. So, see ya.
Cool. Okay, bye. See you podcast.
Bye.
Okay.
We love you.